Hey, Rodrigo, what's the do I have this talk is about 30 minutes probably.
Yeah,
And then, I don't know, 15 minutes or something, like questions, something like that.
something like that.
Or
Yes.
if there's more, I'm happy to stick around.
Yeah. So we are. Let me just turn off. Let's give them like 5 minutes more for people to join and settle in. Maybe grab a cup of coffee. On my side of the continent, it's still quite early, so if there are some other people around from my time zone, you guys are still waking up. So take your time. We still have like 5 minutes more. Uh, Hello in YouTube as well. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. I see already a couple of people joining in, and it's gonna trickle in a little by little. So, good morning. Again, we this talk by Dr. Akito Kawahara. It's part of this very interesting week so far of the Global Butterfly Week. So, thank you so much for being here. Please share the link, either YouTube or Zoom, about this talk and all the talks that we're going to be having. And yeah, so just sit tight. We'll be getting started in a few minutes. So, Akito, quick question, just out of logistics. How do you like it more? Uh, that during the presentation we just show your PowerPoint, or do you want me to put your face next to the?
No,
Uh,
I don't need my face anywhere. Just PowerPoint is fine.
Got it. Sounds good. Okay, so 18 participants so far here in Zoom, and a couple of views in and out from YouTube. So we're getting there. So if it is okay with you guys, we can get started like in 3 minutes. Would that work?
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So we are about to 1 minute to get started. So I'll just start doing a little bit of housekeeping here. So first, this is the first talk of today, which is the most the busiest day of webinars here in the global butterfly week. So sit tight and watch over our channels so you can see when the rest of the talks are happening. We have some related to blue morphos, some related to diversity and distribution of butterflies in Colombia, and some other about butterflies in Mexico. So lots of diversity and different topics that you can learn about. So that's gonna happen in just a few throughout the day. But today, and in just right now, we can get officially started. Let me just put my camera here. We can get started with this webinar.
Recording in progress.
With Dr. Akito Awara from the McGuire Center for Lepidoptera and Biodiversity. So Dr. Akito, I've been following his work for quite a while. I really enjoy it. But as I was just telling him a few minutes ago, to be honest, I haven't had the chance of actually meeting him in person. So for me, I'm a bit starstruck. So if I stutter or whatever, it's just because I'm meeting one person that at least I've read a lot about before. So so happy to have you here, Dr. Akito, and so happy to learn more about what you do at the McGuire Center. And yeah, so I won't take more of your time. Please take it from here.
Thanks so much. Can everybody hear me? You guys can hear me okay?
Audio sounds good to me, and we've started the recording as well. Before you start, let me just quickly say, for those of you attending, if you have questions for Akito during the presentation, you can type them into the Q&A chat box. There's a separate Q&A option on the Zoom, and then Akito will field those questions at the end of the presentation.
Thanks, David. Is this screen being shared right now? It's okay?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, the screen share is working.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining. I'm Akito Kawahara. Thank you, Rodrigo, for the introduction. It's great to meet you. This is amazing. Like I'm very excited to be part of Global Butterfly Week. It's an incredible event. I think it's just fascinating to see so much energy in this butterfly space. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the global research on butterflies, kind of more broadly about what kind of cool science is happening in different parts of butterfly research. And then I'm going to spend the second half of the presentation talking a little bit about research that we do at the McGuire Center and what the McGuire Center is doing. I'm currently traveling and I'm actually doing this from a hotel room. So I hope if there's background noise, just let me know and I'll try to move the computer to a different location or something like that. Anyway, so some of you may not be familiar. I think most of you are familiar at this point, but in case you may not be, what is Global Butterfly Week? It's a worldwide community science and outreach initiative. The focus is observation, photographing, and recording butterflies throughout the world, and a lot of this is run by eButterfly and Foundation a las Atenas, iNaturalist, and many other organizations. So a lot of really wonderful stuff happening from Latin America and Panama, and it's just so amazing and wonderful to see this come together. And I'm just so delighted to be here to be talking about butterflies a little bit. Some of you may have seen some of these Butterfly Week, Gold Butterfly Week posts and things like that. There's Instagram posts and all kinds of stuff happening online, so please go check them out. I just looked at the schedule this morning, and this is the Gold Butterfly Week calendar. It's kind of screenshot right now, and there's so many presentations happening. Actual butterfly observation, projects and workshops and pinning classes and things like this happening all over the place. It's so amazing to see so much happening in the first year of this. So I'm just really excited to see this happen more and more in the near future. I think there'll be so much great stuff happening for butterfly conservation and research. And you can see on this, there's so many different countries represented too. It's Argentina, Panama, Venezuela, Ecuador, it's and Mexico. It's amazing, and I hope this really happens more and more moving forward. So I'm going to talk about research on butterflies primarily today, and research on butterflies is includes many different disciplines, from behavior to developmental biology, conservation, genetics, ecology, etc. And all of these come together into a single thing, in my opinion, that makes this really important for butterfly research. And so I'm going to now just talk a little bit about some of what I think are some of the most kind of incredible scientific discoveries or stories that have happened in the last 5 to 6 years or so. And these are different papers that I've read. And I'm obviously not reading out all the papers, so I don't know everything. But I'm going to just highlight some of them. And if there's scientists here, I'm sorry if I don't highlight yours. That doesn't mean your science is not good. It simply means that we didn't have time to include everything. So, if you're a scientist, please keep up the great work, because there's so much great stuff happening in butterfly research. So the first one I wanted to kind of talk about is structure of butterfly wings. There's been some amazing research in this area that I've been fascinated by. And so there was a paper that came out a couple of years ago by Davis et al. And this one was in Nature Communications. And what was really incredible about this study was that they focused on, the title was Diverse Nanostructures Underlying the Ultra Black Scales in Butterflies. So what this is if you look at the Paradies picture on the upper right, that's a blackish butterfly with red spots. But they looked at the very dark parts of the black wings in different groups of butterflies, and they found in that 4 different subfamilies of butterflies, they all produce this really dark coloration that reflects less than 0.06% of light. And how that happens is really amazing. It's actually in the wing scales and the morphology of the scales. And what they did was they tried to break the structures to see if it affects the reflection. And when you do break it, it does increase the reflectance by 3 to 16 fold. So the structure has evolved many different times in different butterflies to produce really dark colors, and that's that structure is very important, because if it breaks, then it doesn't. Then there's more reflectance. In terms of genomics, so I'll just say that I'm going to spend a short period of time on each of these studies that I found kind of interesting, and just kind of give you like a snapshot of them, so you can take home and think about it. So there's been a paper by Charlotte Wright et al., 2 papers that have come out recently, and this is on the genomics of butterflies. And this is, I think, really important, because there's been so much work that's happened since about 2000. So on the graph here in the bottom, you can see there's the number of years on the x-axis, and from 2020 to about 2025, we've gone from almost no genomes, no chromosome level, really high quality genomes, to over 1,000 of them. And this number just continuously goes up. And a lot of this is being done by the Darwin Tree of Life. There's been a lot of funding support from the UK government to sequence all the butterflies, DNA sequence all the butterflies there, and also all the butterflies and moths in Europe. And we're getting to a point where this is now moving into the neotropics. There's a big neotropical genomics project that's undertaking. So I think this is going to be incredible in the next 10, 15 years or so. We're going to see so much of this now happening in terms of genomics of butterflies. So I think that's very exciting. Something that we did a couple of years ago was on butterfly evolution. This was a big collaborative project with a lot of scientists from around the world. This is really phylogenetic work that we did. But what we found in this study was that butterflies originated in the United States, in the Americas, not the United States, in the Americas. The ancestor was feeding on legumes, we think, and the butterflies are about 100 million years old. And one thing that was really interesting about this study, which was that there's a small butterfly family called Hedyllidae, and this butterfly group is nocturnal, so they fly at night. Despite what most people think, these butterflies are nocturnal. If you simplify that phylogeny, it looks kind of like this, where diurnality, it seems to be the ancestral condition, and then nocturnal butterflies are one part of this evolutionary event. And what's really amazing about this group is that because they became nocturnal, so scientists have been looking at these butterflies, and they've realized that they have hearing organs. So they have these structures that allow them to hear the sonar of bats. And this is something that I've been very interested in for moths, but to have this occur in butterflies is really amazing. So That was kind of the first step, and there's a lot of other kind of evolutionary studies that are going on now in terms of butterflies and moths, which I think is really fascinating. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the research now on butterfly declines. This is incredible work that's being done by many, many scientists from across the US and other places. But one of them was published in 2021. Matt Forrester et al. In Science, and this study was focusing on butterflies seen by community scientists across the warming and drying landscapes of the American West. And this is specifically California and some of the other very western states. And what this graph on the right shows, in the middle here, there's a big column with all these little dots and all the names of the butterflies on the left. And what this is it shows the number of the population growth rate of each species over that time period. And what they found is that the growth has been declining pretty significantly for some species, but almost all the species have declined to some degree. The graph on the bottom left also kind of shows the same kind of thing, but in a different format. What this shows is the number of years on the bottom and the graphs of those species individually. And the graphs kind of go up and down, but the general trend is going down. There was a follow-up study by Edwards et al. That came out last year in Science, which is a very, very important study. And this was titled Rapid Butterfly Declines Across the United States During the 21st Century. What they did was remarkable. It was 12.6 million individual butterflies were counted through 76,000 surveys and 35 monitoring programs. And this is a major meta-analysis of many different butterfly observations between 2000 and the year 2020. And what they found is shown here on the bottom right, 22% decrease in the total number of butterflies during this period. So this is very eye-opening. It's about almost a quarter of the butterflies have gone down in 20 years. And what I'm going to say now is, I think, really important is that a lot of this activity through, Global Butterfly Week and so forth is really important, because when you take pictures, those pictures get used for a lot of this kind of research. So these activities that we're doing for Global Butterfly Week, I think, is really, really important. And it even leads to some other studies like this one here. This is a community science or citizen science study that was published a couple years ago, in which they looked at iNaturalist data. So these are pictures that people have taken with their cameras or phones and uploaded them. And many of these that have been looked at turned out to be species that have been never seen alive before. So you can see there's a global map in this picture, and these are all the locations where these new species were these are photographs of these species that have never been documented in the wild. And what's important about this is you can see where the butterflies are landing, you can see what kind of flowers they're feeding on. This is the kind of information that we unfortunately oftentimes cannot get from museum specimens, but from live images, we can get those kinds of associations that are really important as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about migration.
Can I pause you for a second? Are you sharing your screen with everybody or only with the panelists? I got a question implying somebody is one of the attendees is not able to see the presentation.
It just says
no. I think the question is regarding that if they are going to be sharing the presentation afterwards as a file. I think.
Oh, I apologize for the interruption then. We can discuss that afterwards.
Okay. Yes, this will be shared later if that's the question. I'm happy to share. So I want to talk a little bit about migration. There have been some amazing research projects on migration lately. One of them is on the painted lady butterfly, and this butterfly now is known to travel 10,000 kilometers, 15,000 kilometers, maybe 6,000 to 9,000 miles. This was a paper that was published by Reich et al. In 2024, and there have been a few papers by this group that have looked at this kind of butterfly movement. This was published in the journal iScience, and this is in Africa. So what is shown here is the general movement of painted lady butterflies between January and April in the blue map there, where the butterflies move from sub-Saharan Africa, so like the tropical parts of Africa, to Europe and so forth, and then even up into the Arctic Circle after that. And then in the fall, in September, they migrate back, the offspring move back across the African desert into the southern parts of, or central or southern Africa. And this it has been shown to be over multiple generations, and they've been found to how they travel in the atmosphere and so forth. It's amazing work, and it's really incredible work. This was done with stable isotopes, but they're doing more work on this. And I wanted to also mention monarch butterflies, of course, because they're very important. There was an article, at least in the United States recently, that came out 6 months ago or so in the New York Times about monarch butterflies and tracking, which I think is an amazing part of this, the story of the monarch migration, which is the new research that's happening. So this is just a quick map from Monarch Watch, but what this shows is that the orange arrow is where the summer monarch populations in the northern part of the United States move to Michoacan, Mexico, where the star is, where it says winter down here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but down here, whoops, here, whoops. And then the green arrows indicate the populations can move northwards in the spring. So we've kind of known this from, historically from people tagging butterflies by putting stickers on butterflies and monitoring their, whenever they find a butterfly with a sticker on the wing. But what's been happening, and I should mention one thing too, is in Florida, we don't actually know what's really happening very well. And there's some confusion about whether there's movement between the western part of the Rockies and then the eastern part, and whether the western ones go to Mexico and so forth. So there have been some questions about how these butterflies are flying. We know that monarchs use a sun compass to fly, and we also know that monarchs use the Earth's magnetic field. So when it's sunny, they use the compass, and when it's cloudy, they'll use the magnetic field, and vice versa. They have these two different mechanisms. But how they, where they're actually going specifically, we don't actually know. But if you go to Michoacan, Mexico, and I highly encourage you to go, it's an absolutely incredible phenomenon. And going and supporting the work that locals are doing in Mexico, I think, is also incredibly important. But it's an incredible, just fascinating opportunity to see this. And these butterflies too are actually leaving Mexico slightly earlier every year now because it's getting warmer, which is a little bit concerning. And I'll talk a little bit about the Mexican monarch population in a minute. But what's really fascinating about the work that's being done and some of the scientific research on monarch butterflies is that there's this new project that's been going on where these radio trackers are glued to the backs of monarchs. So this is called the Blue Morpho, and it's a little radio tracker. They go for about $200 a piece, and you can track the movement of the butterfly. So now we have a better idea of where these butterflies are actually going and get point data throughout the life of this butterfly. So each of these lines indicates a single butterfly traveling to from different parts of the United States. One of them, or two of them, are shown here to go to Florida. Others are going to Mexico, and so forth. And each of these little dots indicates a specific time point in which it was tracked using an app. So if you download, and I encourage you to do this if you're in an area where there are monarch butterflies, is to download the Project Monarch app, and then that allows you to track and see if your Bluetooth is on your phone, you'll be able to record them when they're coming through. And what that does is it tells you how many detections that butterfly has had. It also tells you where it started and how many days it's been since release. So this is a screen photo of a phone that I took when we were in Mexico. But this individual was released on Halloween last year, and it was, when we were in Mexico, it was February 9th, so 101 days, 748 miles it had traveled. So very, very significant amount of time it has taken and traveled. The overall monarch population over time has unfortunately declined. So this is a graph showing the rough amount of hectares, so the amount of area that the monarch populations are covering in Michoacan, Mexico over the last like 40 years or so, or 30 years or so. And you can see this general decline, which is really unfortunate. The western monarch population, which I mentioned a little bit, is also declining. So this is a snapshot of the population numbers only until 2019 or so. But you can see this is in California mainly, but you can see the decline, pretty significant decline. There have been a lot of scientific studies that have come out on monarch butterflies and what's happening with them in the western part of the United States and also these other places in Mexico and so forth. But what we know is that the winter monarch population in Mexico were in the hundreds of millions. Now they're in less than 60 million. In 2024 winter, it was 38 million. The West Coast population that I mentioned was only 10,000. So it even went down from 2019 from 30,000 to about 10,000 now in California. So that one is very, very concerning. Some people might wonder what is the cause of the monarch decline. It's mainly urbanization, habitat fragmentation, pesticide exposure, overwintering habitat loss in Mexico, milkweed decline, and climate change and extreme weather changes. This is a summary report that was recently released in 2026, talking about the areas of monarch butterflies covered in Mexico. So this was just released, I think, like last month. And what this shows is kind of the same numbers, the same graph as I showed before. But the key is that it includes this past year, so this winter, like 6 months ago. And what it shows is that it went up from 4.42 to about 7.24. So there's a little increase, which is very promising and exciting, but the overall trend is still pretty directly down, which is unfortunate. So now I'm going to talk a little bit, shift gears, and talk a little bit about research on butterflies at the McGuire Center at the University of Florida. The center was founded in 2004, and we are part of the Florida Museum of Natural History, which is part of the university. Where is the McGuire Center? It's right here. It's in Florida, so we're kind of in the middle of the Florida Panhandle, right on the university campus. The center was built with the help from Bill McGuire and Dr. Thomas Emmel, who many of you may know. Dr. Emmel was a visionary. He had this vision of creating a center for butterflies. He loved butterflies. He traveled all over the world to look at butterflies, to photograph them, and that's where this all started. So he got some folks to help support and build a center, and now we have this amazing center where everything is about butterflies and moths. This is what we call the Wall of Wings, which is an incredible exhibit of all these butterflies and moths and so forth. We have a rainforest too, which is a public area where there's butterflies flying around the natural area. We're under renovation right now, so we're going to open up again in later on this year with a completely new front and a new look, which we're very excited about. This is one of our conference rooms. We have a lot of butterflies in the conference room, and we have a seminar series every Tuesdays, which we give in this room, and a lot of them are streamed on Zoom, so anybody can attend. So if you're interested in attending many of the butterfly and moth talks, but given by scientists, we have those. Our collections is one of the largest in the world, so that's one of the things that Dr. Emmel was really focused on, is to bring in a museum collection. So we have an incredible specimen database. We have also special programs for visiting researchers, for example. So if you're a scientist and you're interested in coming to look at the McGuire Center collection, we have funds. We can support your travel and your time at the museum to do research using the specimens that we have. So if you're interested in this, please contact me, and we can get you in touch. There's an application process, and we can direct you that way. Some of the researchers that have visited include folks from Europe. This is Roy Gutt from England, who was taking digital images or African moths. Krishna Kunte, who some of you may know, is a butterfly expert from India. He came to take photos and digital data of butterflies from Asia. Our research team includes multiple curators, so Jared Daniels, Debbie Matthews is a collection manager, Vaughn Shirey is a new assistant curator, and Andrei Surikov is a collections manager, and Keith Wilmot, who many of you may know, is an expert on Ecuadorian and neotropical butterflies. So all of us work together, and myself, in my lab, I talked about this a little bit before, but we do a lot of work on evolution of butterflies. So we're now publishing sort of subsequent papers. One, the two that came out recently were one on apiaride butterflies, another one on skippers. So skipper butterflies, really interesting. There's so many species, it's very complicated. But what we now know is that a lot of the temperature, the global temperature change over the last 50 million years or so have had a big impact on the evolution of butterflies. We do some work on silk glands too. So this is some stuff that we've been working on lately, which is, this is more on moths, but we also are looking at this with butterflies as well, is to understand how the silk glands differ within different species of butterflies and moths to characterize their silks and to use the silk genetics to try to develop new, stronger silks for material sciences. Keith Wilmot's lab, who, like as I mentioned, who many of you may know, has been doing a lot of excellent work. Some of the work that he does is on systematics. So he's described 34 new butterfly species this decade. The newest butterfly was recently discovered by McGuire Center graduate student Anisha Sapoka, and this is a colubra species. Shown here on the right side of the screen. Also, Keith has done a lot of work in terms of butterfly mimicry and evolution. So Adelpha butterflies is one of the groups he's worked on. Wing patterns, colors, shapes, and the genetics and so forth is something he's very interested in. And they also have a new grant, actually. So Keith is doing a lot of new work in Ecuador. Vaughn Shirey is the newest faculty member at McGuire Center, and Vaughn's work is focused on global change biology and looking at historical changes using museum specimens, and also uses AI to use and statistical approaches for natural history collections data to understand how butterflies have changed over time. And then those data and research that that Vaughn's lab does is translated into environmental governance. So he's working to try to make change at the in terms of policy and rulemaking at the federal level, which is kind of really important, I think, because a lot of scientists are focused on just on the science and not on the actual making the change, you know. And so Vaughn's lab is heavily involved in this. And finally, Vaughn's group also does work with art. So Vaughn teaches a course at University of Florida that is in the art school and does a lot of really interesting work in terms of how art can help understand biodiversity and the importance of biodiversity. Finally, Jarrett Daniels' lab does work on conservation and ecology, specifically in the southern part of the United States, southeastern part of the United States, in terms of butterflies, and has been doing a lot of work in terms of mark recapture work, also rearing butterflies in captivity and then reintroducing them into the field. And this is, for many species, has really helped. Some species were really down into the, almost, teens in terms of the number of butterflies that were found, and then they have recovered in populations. And a lot of the butterflies in Florida are impacted by, a lot of the storms that come through, hurricanes, and those kinds of things as well. So he uses remote sensing data, does a lot of genomics work, and also community science. One of the things that I kind of wanted to mention here through a lot of the work that Jarrett has done is conservation of the plants themselves. And one thing that he and his colleagues have discovered is that milkweed, of course, is not a single plant. In the United States, everybody says milkweed. We need to plant milkweed for monarchs, but it's not one plant. There's actually 100 different, or more than 100 species of milkweeds in North America, and they have very different populations. And the public oftentimes, unfortunately, is not aware that there's so many different species, and different species have different impacts on the monarch butterfly. So, for example, the tropical milkweed is well known to be problematic because it oftentimes, at least in the southern part of Florida, has a protozoan parasite that's associated with the plant. And when the caterpillar eats those leaves, they can get the parasite and they can die. So when you're planting milkweed in your garden, you want to make sure you plant the right kind of milkweed and not those that can carry these kinds of parasites and so forth. So that's something that we're trying to do in terms of education for folks in Florida. We've had a lot of students and postdocs come through. I think it's something like 150 or so now. Some of the people here have become scientists and work at different universities. Jeff Galice, who's shown here, now is in Peru. And so there's folks that come through here a lot. And if you're a student that's interested in wanting to learn the science of butterfly and moth research, please consider applying to the University of Florida. And we've had a very good track record of having great students be successful in the future for their different positions. I wanted to just briefly mention that we do biodiversity inventories as well at the McGuire Center. We've done some local work where we've done some inventories in Florida at different state parks and so forth. And we've been tracking these over time. We've done some work in Honduras. This is mainly by previously by Jackie Miller and Debbie Lott, and teaching courses and taking students from the University of Florida to go visit these field sites, also in the Bahamas and other places as well. We do local education outreach work very regularly with the Florida Museum. Here are some photos that several of the team have were part of, taken by Kay Johnson. This is where on the right you can see a picture of Kay showing kids at a local school, and then also at a learning center for Earth Day. So we do these kinds of things where we bring specimens into the field and show students the importance of butterflies and moths. We also have other events. Andrei Surikov has run these events at the museum, teaching kids about the importance of butterflies and moths. We also do butterfly beers. Some people are very surprised about this, but this is an effort that's mainly run by Jarrett Daniels' group, in which there's different butterfly beers, and there are special events, and you can get these beers, and it's in collaboration with a local brewing company. So I think there's something like 15 different butterfly and moth beers now. There's only 3 of them shown here, but that's it's something that we do to promote and educate people about the importance of butterflies and moths. Finally, of course, I mentioned that we do trips to Mexico. If you're interested, we lead these trips regularly now, and every February, there's at least 2 trips that we run, and we'll be doing this every year moving forward. So if you'd like to participate, there's a way to participate. You can find out more information on the website. I'm hoping to have some more conversations and get participants involved in the monarch tagging portion in the future, because I think it's really interesting. There'll be 2 trips in 2027, led by myself and also Dr. Von Shirey. So a scientist will go along with you, and you can participate. And that is my last slide. I just wanted to thank Rigo and Global Butterfly Week for allowing me to give this presentation. And I guess if there's time, I can answer any questions. Of course. Except, Rosie, I think your screen has like the visual. Oh, okay. It's fine. I don't like looking at myself. I'm gonna move it back to this. No, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, so if you're interested as a as a potential graduate student to join the McGuire Center and get a master's or a PhD degree, or even undergraduate, you should reach out to us. There's, many of us who can take students, and there's a process. You would either go through the entomology department or the biology department, or several other departments as well that you can apply for, and then once admitted, then you're part of the team. So it's kind of like applying for for college. It's just you'd be working at the McGuire Center, and as students, you'll probably be taking classes and doing the kind of typical things that most students do. But that's kind of what we that's kind of how it's set up. And I can answer more questions specifically if anyone's interested. Please just send me an email, and I can answer them. That's Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. We would love to do that more. We are in the process of developing more programs and things like that. When COVID happened a couple of years ago, we had a pretty big hit in terms of, our activities because we simply couldn't do a lot of them. But we've been bringing up a lot of those things that we had done in the past, but we're trying to do more different kinds of education outreach, and also training opportunities as well. Something I didn't mention is there's a course called the Lepidoptera course that takes place in Arizona every year. The McGuire Center now is heavily involved in the Lepidoptera course. It's basically a 2-week course in which you learn everything about Lepidoptera. So it's not just about butterflies, but it's also about moths as well. And some of the world's best scientists come to this uh, to train students. So you go to the course, you're in Arizona in the woods with a whole bunch of scientists and other students, and it's up to 20 or so, 15 to 20 students, and it's an immersion workshop where you study butterflies and moths for with lectures and labs and all these kinds of things for 2 weeks, and I think it's a very valuable experience for many people. Yes, Yorate, it's great to hear from you. Yeah, we went to the Congo together many years ago, and it was great, incredible, amazing butterflies. Yeah, it's been great. Terry, that's no problem at all. I just wanted to mention one thing too that I really think is important. And when I was making this presentation, it made me really think about it more and more. But the effort of Global Butterfly Week, I think, is incredible, right? And it's really all of your work, all the people that are out there that are going out and taking pictures and documenting what's going on with butterflies is so important because as I mentioned earlier, some of the scientific papers rely on that information, and we as scientists cannot do the science without all the efforts from all the community scientists, community folks out there. So it's really, really important, and I hope that we can do this globally, not just in certain parts of the world, but all over the world. And it's going to help butterflies, and that's what we really need to be doing. And I think being able to do that and start now is excellent. And I really can see a really bright future. And I'm really excited to see what this is going to be like in 5 or 10 years, because I think it's going to be amazing.